Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Deployed Engineer channel. Today, I'm really excited to have Mello. He is the head of engineering at Addy AI, and I'm really happy to have him on the pod. Jay here is leading all the AI initiatives at Addy. He's been here since the inception, and I really look up to him. He's a great engineer, great lead. Also, Jay previously worked at Deloitte as a tech lead, and after that, at some point, he also started a Web3 company and he was innovating in the smart contracts and blockchain space. Jay also is a teacher and he teaches at a Code for All Institute, and he's teaching a lot of like AI, machine learning, the emerging technologies.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for the warm welcome, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. I know you're a Batman fan. So, and you reflect that because you're really good at putting out fires and fixing things really fast. So that's great. So, yeah, in terms of your roles and duties currently, what do you do day to day, and what are some of the things in the AI space that we are applying to Addy?
Yeah, of course. My day to day depends. We are on a startup. It's really fast. It's like I just do what's needed on the day. But normally, what I try to do as I'm leading all of the engineering team is first of all know what each person is working on, so that I have the complete map of what is being working, what features, what's going to be deployed on the next deployment and the next release. And from there, I see if there's anything that I need to help with. So maybe Bolek needs anything or another guy needs anything. So first of all, my duty is to be present and know that the team knows that I can help them with anything. From there, if everyone has work, if everyone is going on, I'll just check whatever I have on the sprint. I right now I just ended everything on SOC 2 security stuff. So what I work with Michael, our CEO, I just basically tell him what does it need to be done. I already did hiring, I already did the SOC 2, I do product, I do whatever is needed on a daily day to day. So I don't have a routine or a daily kind of check that I do. So I'll say that that's my day to day. First of all, yeah.
That's awesome. What are some of your interests? Like, what do you do outside work usually in a day? Like, typically when you have the time.
Yeah, of course. I try to go to the gym every 5 days a week. That's not because I will say I don't love it, but to get out of the house and just like clean my head for a little bit. Sometimes that's the place where I find like the solutions of the issues that I've been having during the day. Other than the gym, I will not say it's a hobby. It's more of it, not that I love it. I will say that video games is like my biggest thing that every single day, if I have more than 30 minutes, I'll try to just grab my PS5 controller and play a single player game, just me and the game. And I'll say that's my biggest hobby. I have a lot more. I have too many, but I'll say from all of them, that's the biggest one.
That's pretty good. You did mention that you were in the Web3 initially. I'm just curious to understand, stepping back, like what was your experience like? What were you trying to build? I'm very curious. And how did you learn about it? Because I've always been like interested in the Web3 technology, but I haven't really like I don't know too much about the technicalities. So it'd be really interesting to understand that.
Yeah, of course. So that part of Web3 was when I left Deloitte. So I had a huge friend of mine on Deloitte that we met there, and it made me the challenge of leaving Deloitte and creating our own startup. Why Web3 at the moment? Because Web3 when it was 2020, 2019, more or less, 2021 maybe, I don't remember the date. It was like AI 2 years ago. So it was like everyone was starting to hear about, everyone was starting to build. So that's why we moved to Web3. What we were trying to build, we were trying to build Web3 is community based, DAOs, a lot of everything is a community. We were building the onboarding tools using blockchain and smart contracts so that when you join a community, you could onboard easily to that community, get your tokens, get everything. That's what we were working on. How I learned, just doing it. I think like that's one of my biggest itches with some devs is that what's the next course that I can do? What's the next? Just do it. The easiest way to learn something for me is just, okay, I need to learn about smart contracts. What are they? What's the language? Oh, this is the language. Let's just try to break it down, do a simple one, and just went from there and went from zero knowledge of a blockchain. And I was able to create my own tokens, create my own smart contracts, deploy them to the chain, use them across the board. So yeah, Why Web3? Because it was hot. That's the only reason. I don't really believe in Web3 at the moment because how everything is going. But yeah, that's why I built that in Web3 at the time.
That's interesting. So I wanted to prick you a bit more on that. At the time when you are starting out, right, the meta skills required to learn something is so important for so many engineers. They have this imposter syndrome when they're starting out. How do you actually feel that? If you do, like, how do you overcome that? Because initially you feel you're a complete beginner, and especially you are a founder at that time building something that's very new, and you have to like take the steps, and because you're in such a in the fairly sensitive space, you have smart contracts. How do you build the confidence to step into the waters, and how do you learn and compound?
Yeah, the learning and compound. Again, like even in AI right now, you start to having a lot of courses, but there's no content. You can't really just learn from. And while we know you can't learn from outside, the same thing happens. So the learning process was just not only doing it, but seeing on GitHub but other smart contracts, trying to replicate what were other small people were doing. I think that like my big what I will be doing. In terms of my confidence, I have a lot of issues in self confidence. That's true. I don't trust myself, but I think that I really divide that. So I don't feel like I'm good or sometimes, but that's one side of me. But the other side is that I'd never give up. When I want to learn, when I want to do that thing, I'll be here for 1 hour. I'll be here for one day. I'll not sleep until that's done. I really need that to make me feel complete. So I have the two sides of my brand, let's say that they're fighting. I have one side that even on my company, people don't know about that I don't trust myself. I'm not confident. But what I do, I just start doing it. I know for sure that I'm a pioneer. I'm one of the 1,000 people that are doing Web3 at the moment. Even AI right now, it's like a minority. And even if I'm a beginner, there are no seniors with 10 years. So my beginning level right now is not that different. This is really useful. It's really easy for in this world because AI blockchain are really new. Of course, on the other side, when you are starting as a dev in a common place like JavaScript, Python, like a normal one, that one will feel like I'm a new and you are. There are guys with 30 years of coding experience for sure. In those cases, what I try is just try to do different things, like try to experiment, not experiment with experimental things, but different. Try to be different in my own way. I think that's the way that I try to like overcome my own fears, my own insecurities, and just do it. I think it's like it's Nike, or I didn't know Nike. It just do it. Yeah, I think that's biggest way.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so just like following on that, like you have a really interesting ability to context switch and get things done really quickly. What's your secret? Like, how are you able to context switch without losing a lot of things? For example, I one of the things I've learned from you is that this ability to context switch effectively. Do you have any tips for people who sometimes they don't want to do this because they're in the middle of it and they feel like, oh, I need to get this done, but there's something that's high priority, maybe a bug, and they have to switch around that. Like, how can they maintain that efficiency despite, switching?
I think the first thing that it makes it easier because I know the product. Like the product, most of it was built by me, so I know where stuff are. And what I do when I'm doing a new feature, a new implementation, or I'm looking into code that was not done by me, is that I don't start by the big picture. I start by the specific. So imagine I need to go to that button because it's not working. Of course, I can start by understanding the feature. What's that button? But I do the other way around. I go directly to the button, like Control F, Control Shift F, find that specific a class name or that specific text. I go there, I fix it, and while I'm testing it, I start to understand the full picture. Michael always make it's like, oh wow, how did you already did this? You never look into processing checklist. It's because I just do that. I go, okay, the task is to do this. I go directly to the place. I don't care about the full picture. Of course, this has pros and cons, a bad side, and I just do it. But while I'm doing it, I'm starting to learn the big picture of the feature. You have the two ways. You have a big picture, and then you formulate, and then you do it. Maya start doing it, and then try to understand. So I think that's one of the ways that I quickly change topics and context because I just go there, I understand it, and I go from there, and instead of, okay, let me understand the full everything on this. And I it's just like the other way why I'm easily switched, because I have a lot of focus issues. I'm never truly 100% focused. There's a fly and I go fly. I'm never truly focused, so that makes it even easier for me to switch, because oh, I'm doing this. Oh, I'll go back to this. Let me continue on the other side. So I just switch because I'm not truly focused unless it's like a huge, really important feature. But even with that, I can easily unfocus from something. That's bad because I can't read, for example, without, I need to be 100% silence for me to read something. And but yeah, I think like the focus and going directly to the point, knowing, not caring about the big picture, because you will learn it, the big picture.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I noticed something. It's like when you focus on something, you're even able to like dive in. One of the things I noticed is that you are able to weigh options. For instance, I noticed there was an instance where we're building a vector. We are working on a specific way to fetch data from the vector database, the RAG technique. You did something beyond just using the APIs. You went through a whole article, blog, and you weighed the pros and cons, and you went down and implemented a very nice solution. How do you weigh your options when implementing or when you have to make a decision? Because as an engineering leader, typically sometimes you have four different options and you have to make a judgment and the team has to live with that. How do you do that?
If I have the time, normally I have and I want to have it, I try all of the options. So I try to implement all of the options. Now with Cursor and AI, it's easier to just do that. And I wait based on the feedback that I see on my side. So the hybrid search, you are talking about the Qdrant hybrid search with the Matryoshka. In those regards, because we tried other implementations, not hybrid solutions, and they were not working. So I just had to have a lot of options and testing all of them, and then I found the one that's working. But I know that sometimes there isn't that, and I think how I do it, of course, other than investigation, analyzing, and all of that that we normally do, is just a hunch. Because already 8 years and custom different kinds of companies from enterprise to smaller startup, I think I and teaching and the master degree, all of this together, I think it already gave me a little bit more of a hunch where I should focus first. Okay. And also what I do when there are all of those decisions, probably already saw it, I go with the simplest one that works. Why? Because I think that, right, a lot of devs have this issue that, oh, I just want to implement a more complex one. Sometimes the simplest option works and you can go from the simple to the complex, but you can't go the complex to the simple. That's a pain in the ass, going the other way around. So if I have several options, I have one option that takes me 1 hour and we can test and it's working and maybe it's the what we need, or we have one that takes 1 week and probably at the end we don't know if it works, or if it works, will it work better or 10% better. So normally if I have the option and if I see them they are not that different from my investigations, I'll go always with the simplest option that seems like, oh, are you really going with just an API call? Let's an example. Yeah, because it will work for our use case and then we can go from there.
Oh, that's interesting. And that's definitely a good sort of compass that people can use. What about AI assisted coding? What do you think is the future of programming? Like how with all these tools coming in, Cursor has all these models you can choose from to write software. It's a different world. You have been coding for a long time and then now there's a different way that's there's a more efficient way, but there's drawbacks as well. A lot of engineers discuss about what do you think is in your opinion, the difference between pre and post AI assisted coding? What are the things people should look out for, and how do you use it in your workflows?
Yeah, of course. In my workflow, I use it as much as I can. I use Cursor. I have ChatGPT, so I always try to do several things in at the same time. So from using the simple tab while I'm coding, or even asking the agent to do me something while I'm doing another thing. So I try to parallelize work with the agents because it takes time. Or even ask, I'll go grab a coffee and then I see the solution. That's where I use on a daily day, specifically in coding, because I also use it on other places. But I think in coding, I try to have it. I see it as my personal junior developer. So I have this guy here that the task is to change the color on this button. Come on, I don't want to lose time with that. Do it while I'm doing the actual thing that I need to do, like important thing. I think the agents are incredible for this, and that's why I see the huge difference before pre AI and post AI. Is that I before it took me a long time just to produce, for example, the first draft of a page. So you need a first page with a button and these kind of flags. A simple version going from 0 to 1 was always the like hardest, because sometimes you copy from another, but then the changes were bigger than just doing from 0. Doing from 0 is always a pain because you need to remember some stuff, props, all of that in JavaScript. So I think that AI brought a lot, so that I don't need actually to think about the 0 to 1, but the 1 to 100. So I just need to do that. Yeah, I think like that's the biggest thing in the like minor difference. Imagine tab is crazy, really great, because sometimes imagine that you have an array of objects and you need to
Yeah.
add a variable into each that's exactly the same. Before you just need to copy, paste, 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 and now we click in, do one, and then ta. That's done. Like it's taking me out of my, I would say, busy work, because our busy work as devs is not writing emails, not meetings. It's the simple work, the minor design changes, those text changes. So that things that it's brainless. You just need to go there and do it. Like I have a lot of bug fixes that I need to do. That is just like go there and do this. It's that takes me 5 minutes, yeah, but I need to go there, switch, and maybe AI does it for me. So I think like those are the biggest things that I've been taking from AI. Sometimes I try to use them for searching me specific code, but I still figure out that sometimes it has issues. So I've been using just my junior developer.
That's a nice way of thinking about it, like a junior developer. Yeah. What are the limitations of using it? When you've been using it, what are some things devs should watch out for? They should be aware of.
Yeah.
Oh, it's screwing up here a lot.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things that I've been having sometimes, is that AI tries to overcomplicate stuff. So imagine that you ask her to do this on the back end, and and it starts doing it, and it starts to grow all of your file, and from there you start checking, but it's overcomplicating. And imagine, okay, it's correct, yeah, but it is overcomplicating, and you accept, and then there are bugs, and you need to go from there, always trying to improve. And what happened for me, so like I was doing a feature and I was like 1 hour in the feature, and I did not fully understand what was happening in terms of the code. I was just complex, and I was just like, unstash, discard all changes, let's go from 0 and let me start doing it, the feature. So what happens, I think like the limitations is right now that it does not go simple to complex like I like to do it. It already codes really complex, sometimes code where is not necessary. And then I think the solutions become too complex for what they should need, and it's hard to maintain, it's hard to improve, it's hard to correct fixes. So I think like that's one of the biggest thing. And the other one, well, it's of course context. So even though it has cursor rules, of course it has the code base, there are still small nitpicks that it does not know, and you will ask her to do something and you will need to go there and fix it. So I think like, yeah, overcomplicating and context are the current limitations of AI.
Yeah, the agents usually go off track when the context windows go really blow up. I did notice a new feature where they're trying to summarize when your context window really fills up, which is kind of helpful, but does still make the mistakes. I read a Twitter post that says the current bottleneck or the future bottleneck as well, and current bottleneck is the ability to queue. The agents write so much, so our bottleneck is doing the QA
The
work,
keyword.
right? Just making sure that it's doing the right things, which is an interesting way of looking at it.
Yeah, just one thing because of that. Yeah, I have in my students, I have one particular student that does not use cursor or any assistant. Why? Because it tells me that the time that it takes to do the feature is a time that it takes to QA the feature done by the AI. So at the end, it's the same time. So why use AI at this point? That's why he has yet to decide. I already told him parallelize work, but still he's still on there. So yeah, if it takes so much time to QA that it took you to code it, why not just code it?
That's interesting. If you were to step back and let's say you're just starting to write code, how would you learn? Is there anything you'd change with the current tooling you'd have? How would you go about it? Because I remember when I was learning, I would go through docs, I'd go through YouTube, look at some crash courses, try to play with a small project, and then start writing the code and copy pasting, Stack Overflow for all the errors. Is there anything you'd change that in that sense?
Probably everything. I don't think that the old way works right now to code, because like even with just the tabbing, it already makes a huge difference. What I'll maybe do, like it's always a supposition because we don't know, but I will try. I think that new devs, junior devs need to use AI, but not use AI as a junior dev, but use AI as a learning process, a learning platform where you can actually ask, do this, but then ask, why did it this teach me? Like, use it as a teaching platform AI first, even though it helps you code, and not just with do me that and that's it, because that way you'll never learn doing it. But if you actually are critical, ask you, oh, why not that solution? So what the same we do on Stack Overflow. We will go to Stack Overflow, we will read or we will copy the code, and we'll think why this person did this. Let's do the same with AI. AI, implement me this. Why did you do that? AI now here will even explain to you. So I think like my learning process will change just because I will stop using a lot of different like YouTube and Stack Overflow and start just using AI, because even YouTube right now it's a and because you can even use AI to teach it. I use AI for teach me about the loan officing system, all of that, the far loans with a specific. So I will switch off completely because I think there's no way right now of us going without zero AI, because you just install visual content. I'll almost have default visual GitHub Copilot. So yeah, I think that's hard. So I'll just embrace it and use it to teach me.
That's great advice for anyone starting out trying to learn this type of a thing. What do you think is the future of AI in enterprises, and even if you have an opinion on dev teams, do you think, and I'm talking about a 5-year timeline, would would a lot of, let's say, writing software, a lot of jobs, like, would they change? What do you think? What's your prediction? Like, it doesn't have to be, nobody can predict the
Yeah, of
future,
course, yeah,
but
of course, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. This is we already seen this. The junior kind of role is a kind of role that will disappear over time. I don't think it's something that can be managed just a junior developer. And I also think that we will stop and stop seeing people that are just devs, completely focused devs. Why? Because AI, every company will embrace AI and become the assistant to each dev. What this will become, all teams will be more productive, of course, but then we'll start to have holes because there are so many devs. If they are being more productive, what happens to the other? So what I see devs doing is they start going other routes, not just devs. Maybe you are a dev that does marketing. Maybe you are a dev that does hiring. So what I always say, my friends, is that are you just a dev? You shouldn't just be a dev, because the dev role just will be more rare in 10 years and 20 years. It's something that will for sure still exist, but be really, really, really focused. So what I tell everyone, the dev right now, is just learn something more that you like. What do you like more than just coding? Do you like management? Do you like the marketing process, the hiring? There's a lot of different things that we devs are good thinkers for. So that's what I do. I do everything because I think that I don't have a future as a full dev, and I think that's what companies will start seeing more and wanting more, is devs that are not only devs but powered devs that can do this and this, so that while they are more productive on the product, they can help in other places, because in we'll start to having those kinds of bottlenecks, because if everything is faster and then we don't have the features to do everything, will be bottlenecks. So I think that the future is junior devs fully not existed. I don't know how people will go from 0 to 1. We'll get there. But I think like full on devs that we have thousands of right now, we will start seeing less and less and less, and start seeing more generalized kind of devs that have any like managing developer, marketing developer, where he has also another skill set that can be used by the company.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It's almost like the developer will be able to pivot into a role where he can either take other roles more so and reduce the amount of technical stuff they do, like coding, but still be around to enable the other functions and make it faster in the cycles faster, I
Yeah,
think is,
exactly. Yeah,
yeah.
that's exactly
Like,
what I feel, is that now you don't have just a product that's fast; you have a company that's fast. Because if everyone has a little bit knowledge on the other piece, you can be much faster doing everything.
yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of similar sentiment. Just knowing when you're at the edge and we're trying to use the stuff, you can kind of know. There's a lot of resentment from a lot of senior people who've been doing this for 20 years, because it just becomes hard to accept that, you can have this thing. And it does make mistakes. And if you're in the top 1%, you're gonna find that it's so
For sure.
primitive. But I think for the vast majority, like it's able to be able to prototype things so fast, I think. And there's also the argument of assembly, right? You had assembly, and then you had the high level C language on top, and then C++, C sharp, Java did garbage collection, and then you had more stuff on top. And now it's almost that layer of natural language is getting a little bit better, and we might become the layer on top, I think, right?
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, but those seniors, yeah, it's always hard to deal with because even a couple of years ago, people will judge you. Oh, you work in Java. Why don't you work on C, C++? Like this is the good language. So there's always in coders, we have always that sentiment that what was done before, it was like the biggest thing. So yeah, right now there will be a lot of people thinking badly, but there will be changes. And I think that one of the, you said one thing that I find my friends saying a lot is that people look into the mistakes of AI. You saw that I was using Nano Banana, just doing random pictures, and I was sending a friend and say, "Oh, this person is missing a finger." My thing is that don't look into the mistakes. Look into how amazing it is right now with 5 years of development. Transformers were launched in 2017 by Google. 2018, we had the first LLM, small LLM, BERT, and GPT-1. And from there, in 7 years, was it 7 years? We had LLMs that can do this. Guys, imagine more 7 years on top. It's like, if it's the double, it's like done. Okay.
It's
Of course,
done.
that's not how our technology evolves, but it's not the errors that it doesn't right now. It's how amazing it is right now with the how much development we had. Like we have computers for almost 100 years, and we have AI for these AI generative AI LLMs. Don't come harsh me on the comments. I know AI is here since the beginning of computing, but generative AI and LLM specifically, we have it for 7 years, and they are already groundbreaking. More 7 years, it will be crazy.
I totally agree. Like the trajectory, the amount of capital allocated to building this. For instance, yesterday they launched, Musk announced that they're launching Grok 4 or Grok 5 fast, I think. And it does web search faster, cheaper with a 2 million context window, which just is mind blowing. And they also released a model, coding model called Grok Code Fast on Cursor, which is able to do things so fast. Like it's able to scan your code really fast. And once the context window keeps increasing, like your AI will be able to go through all this like nuances and figure out things really fast. Just I think that's interesting. How
Before
so
you were saying the capital, it's easy. But let's just see what is the most valuable company right now in the world. It's Nvidia. Why? Because of AI. Like the biggest company right now, it's one company that's big because of a specifically AI. So I don't think that we are stopping or stagnating. I think we are like just on the ramp space of AI. Yeah, completely.
so a lot of times like you're writing the code, right? And it's able to like generate things in different parts. How do you maintain, I would say, the quality of the code? Like, because sometimes it doesn't follow the standards. Like I notice, oh, it'll skip oh, you're writing on a component and it'll automatically build its own new component versus using ours. So is there any tips for that to get around that?
I think the first one is having good cursor rules or rules in general where like we have the system instructions from it. Second of all, a good logical prompt, just because sometimes they just prompt, oh, do this. And they are, okay, I do that, but there are no constraints, there are no rules, just do it. So I think if we do a good prompt or prompting with the exactly constraints that we want, of course, again, we will start thinking about balancing. We can't take 1 hour prompting because that will be the hour of us coding. So we always need to be intelligent. One way that I found that sometimes it's easier for me to prompt is because I have the thoughts all of here. But sometimes for me in English, as I'm no native, it's hard for me to put it on paper. So what I use ChatGPT where talk all my points that I need, and I have a GPT that transforms what I'm speaking. I have the Windows and is like writing, and then it polishes me to a prompt based on what I was using. So I do this because I know my brain, if I type it, it will not be as good what I'm thinking. So I use AI to create my own prompt, and then I use that. But I think like both having good rules, and the constraints are the key here. I think from there, like prompting constraints, and you will have that. And of course, from there, always rotate saying, okay, no, don't create this component, do it without a component. I think these minor things help. But yeah, sometimes I need to just, okay, don't undo this, and let me just go from here. Yeah, sometimes it's I can't win.
Yeah, no, that's a good tips. I think the cursor rules one is a big one. I think it's really useful. Yeah. Other than that, like just we're getting toward the end of the podcast, but I have a few questions before that. What tips do you have for engineers working in like early stage startups? Do you have any like meta tips that can help them sort of navigate their journey in those startups? Like how should they like think of their role? Because a lot of people like this, the role is a little bit different from if you're working at like a bigger type company.
For sure, for sure. I think that my first tip is like embrace whatever the a startup has to offer you. Your role must be a software developer or forward AI engineer, let's say, or like a specific role. Don't accept that role as your own role, and just see what your seniors are doing, your CEO, and ask, oh, can I do that? Can I try to do it? Show openness to do other things. Okay, I think that's biggest thing. It was how I learned everything that I did until now, and I think it's like showing that you are open to learn new stuff. Maybe you try it and you don't like it. That's fine. You tried it. You see, okay, I'm not good for that, but you'll understand things that you are good and you like, and that will make you like a better developer and even a better person. I think that's my first tip. My second tip is always look again to your seniors and how people on that are upper than you are doing things. I did this in Deloitte. I was always looking with what my manager was doing, and I was thinking, why is it doing this decision? I will not make it. Why is it doing it? Sometimes I could just decipher on my own that. Other things, I will just ask him, why are you doing this? And people are open to answer you why they are doing it, and you start to understand the logic of a manager that has 10 years of work. So I think like always looking at people that are higher than you, it's crazy. I think it's like one of the biggest tips you can give is just like the knowledge is there. You just need to go get it or look into it. Like just get that free knowledge that out there. And my third and last tip is just don't overcomplicate. I go with the simple solution first and go from there. Because that will help a lot in doing like the first version of something, and then build the crazy feature that you are thinking. Don't start by the crazy feature, or you'll enter feature hell, or you will enter a lot of things and take 1 month to do one thing that you could have done for 1 week, and then improve it over that month. So I think those are the biggest three tips that I've been my Bible of tips. And I think, yeah, those are I will say for someone starting in a startup or even enterprise role. This works for both sides.
Yeah, that's great. And how about anything? Do you have any tips around the communication, improving communication in general, and trying to work with the team? And a lot of times in startups, there's a lot of ambiguity, and there's a lot of like, there's a direction, there's not like a lot of clarity, and that's how startups typically work. How do you drive that clarity, and how do you get engineers to like carve it down? Because like you said, feature hell comes from like the fact that people don't really know where to stop, right? So but at the same time, you might be required to build something really robust. So how do you communicate on both sides toward the expectation and how much you should do and how you should work with the team around that?
Yeah, I think like of course ambiguity there will always be. It's really hard because we are dealing with really different knowledgeable kind of people. One person that's the zero technical, and we are 100% technical, so it's really hard for ever to be ambiguity. I think that's why I always go with this kind of this structure of a feature to start with a V1 MVP, let's say, of a feature. So I'll think about this feature. What's the minimal that we can have that I can show them, and they can start giving me feedback? Because the key here is that one is the feedback that they will give you best when they see it. Because people are really vision, so it always worked better that way. So I'll go with the V1, even if it does not have the perfect design. I'll put a note. This is not the design, but people can already see it. Oh, I click here, this happens. It makes a call. It does all of this. We can show it, and we start getting feedback from here, and then we can start our next improvement. Will not just be what we think or what we see on the user side, but we'll already incorporate what they are wanting to improve. Because this is best. Then we just doing the full feature, and then start receiving the feedback loop after that. Because right now we are still raw. We are at the start. Everything is still really open for us to do the changes. So I think he said, you have a future. My first thing is like, okay, what's the one thing that needs to work? Build that, show it, and start working from there until you have like the real huge feature that you promise and people really like it, because now the final feature will not be yours, it will be from the team that has been giving you feedback throughout the development. So just like a Loom video or a Windows video, you can just do it like, okay, video, post it on the channel tag, what do you think? And go from there. I think like that's my biggest, don't do the full feature and then receive feedback. Start with a view on MVP even. I think this MVP functionality is the best one, and start receiving feedback and go from there.
Yeah, thinking in iterations is so important
Yeah.
because traditionally in schooling, you're not usually, you do an exam and retaking is not allowed. But with iterations, you already go in with the assumption that there's no perfect. It wouldn't be perfect right away, but you know that, okay, I'm going to iterate enough to get enough feedback to get the right answer, because it's not like a question answer. It's more subjective as well.
Exactly, because because of the ambiguity, you read the feature and for you on your mind you see one thing, but that's not the thing that the people on maybe on the other side want. So that's why, more than of course going into a call trying to explain, even there you will not get the 100% picture because you have different minds. So the best way is just work with them. How these ways our we devs can do it is just this one. Of course, them we can make a color. What do you think about me? Video is easier because of the sync, they just can see and then you go from there. So yeah, I think yeah, teaching it goes the other way around into this. While I teach, I try to go with the iterations always, with instead of just 100. That's impossible.
Yeah, that's great insights. Okay, so last question I have for you while we wind up on the pod is from the last guest, Michael. He left you a question. He said, what do you think needs to change in the engineering world that would enable AI agents to have a 99% accuracy in getting the tasks done in future?
What needs 99? Oh, Michael was not with that 100%, because if I was 100%, I would say not possible. With the 99, I think OpenAI went into the thing that I think that can get the 99 is human in the loop. I think right now there's not a lot of things that we can do unless improving the models, fine tuning for our own code, all of that. Yeah, of course, more tooling will not be the solution because context. So I think that the human in the loop will be a big thing that can be used to improve agents. For OpenAI already does this a little bit, because I was trying their agent one that they got broke down because of LinkedIn, and they asked me, "Oh, can you enter browsing?" And they opened a browser and I logged in into LinkedIn, and it went from there. So I think that right now the way that the agents can go from what they are to the 99, I would say not 99, but it's the entering, letting easily the human in the loop. We don't see that on person. I've never saw, unless it's like confirm edit and run this command. That's not human in the loop. It's just confirmation. I don't think other than this we have other ways, because the LLMs are still not there yet. Even with the tooling, even increasing context, we know that 2 million context is not doable in a single call. So I think that human in the loop is the best one right now, that we can just do it, because we still need to improve on LLM, see the next Gemini, see the next GPTs to know where we are going. And from the launch of GPT-5, I don't know where we are going, but not far if we still continue this way. Human in the loop will be my solution for the 99% right now.
That actually makes sense. That's
Exactly.
cool. I think that is the end of our podcast, Jay. Thank you very much. Is there anything else you'd to add on?
No, it's just learn fun. I think like the biggest thing I do in dev world is like having fun. You are starting out or you are building, you want to learn a new thing, just do a hobby. I know I really like Dungeons and Dragons. Do a project based on that. I think that's the biggest thing that I know I like to do. Is like do things that I like, and you'll learn. But yeah, just I think that's go be curious, have fun. I think that's like my biggest takeaways from everything.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. That's it. Thanks for watching, guys. Till next time. Bye.